So good afternoon, everyone. So on behalf of all the partners, it's a pleasure to welcome you for this session on PhD career development. That will be the second session today, with a focus on STEM fields. So basically, my name is Berenice Kimpe. I'm working for ABG, Association Bernard Gregory, which is an association which is strongly committed to career development and recruitment of PhDs in France and in Europe. So I will be chairing the session this afternoon together with my colleague Taolang and Sinead. We will be in charge of managing your questions mostly. So the purpose of this session is to give you concrete information and advice on how you can manage your transition out of academia. It's really important for you to understand that we are not going to talk on career development in academia, but outside. The idea for you is maybe to be inspired by our speakers' experiences, by getting information on the job market and more precisely on your career options outside of academia, because it's not so easy when you are working in academic settings, not so easy to know which opportunities are out there. So this session is organized with the first part, I would say, during which our speakers are going to share their experience as PhDs now working outside of academia. And then there will be some time for your questions, but of course, do not hesitate to ask your questions also during the first part of this session. And to do so, I'm going to ask you to type your questions in the Q&A tab you can see at the bottom of your screen. So in order to do so, please be precise when you type your questions, so it will help us to manage more efficiently your questions. So be precise, and you can also choose to ask your question anonymously or by giving your name. That's really up to you to decide. And I think that's all I have to say for this introduction. And then really, let's start with the session. And I will start first, of course, to thank the speakers for being here today with us. Thank you very much for having accepted our invitation. It's a great pleasure to see you and to welcome you as guests. So thank you very much, Clarissa, Mariana, Alexandre, and Julia. And as I said, I'm going to give you the floor very quickly. So I would like you to present yourself. Can you tell us who you are, what you do, and what were your major career steps from your PhD to where you stand now? And also by explaining the reasons why you left academia. What were your motivations behind your professional choices until now? So we are going to start with ladies, if you don't mind, Alexandre and Clarissa. You're first, so you can start maybe.
So, I remember to activate the button. My name is Clarissa Hilzendeger. I am Brazilian. I'm in Europe since October 2012. So I'm also coming from outside here. I came here first for a PhD. During this PhD, I had in mind to be a professor in the end. On the course of my PhD, I realized I was so wrong. So I started to look for other opportunities, and I found out this world of the biotech. I didn't know about it before, so it was a very nice discovery. I searched for a job quite some time before I finished my PhD, because I knew I wanted to leave academia. My motivation was virtually always the same, finding out what I liked to do and especially what I didn't like to do. I found my first job is still in development, so in a startup in Germany, where we were developing a new treatment against cancer. So I was working in vitro model.
Can you hear us? Okay, I think we lost Clarissa, so maybe Julia, if you don't mind, presenting yourself until Clarissa is back, maybe.
Perfect, yes. So I am Julia Sepulveda Diaz. As Clarissa, I am of well, I'm not from France. I work here, but I'm originally from Mexico. I moved to France 10 years ago to do a PhD. So my career is very diverse. I did a bachelor in chemical engineering. Then I did a master back in Mexico again in biochemistry. And then I came here to France to do a PhD in cellular and molecular biology. After my PhD, I was still thinking of staying in academia. Then I did 2 postdocs at the institute, at the Brain and Spine Institute here in Paris. These were 4 years and a half of postdocs, mainly in Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and general in vitro models and in vivo models of neurodegeneration. But at some point I got a bit frustrated because on academia, because I felt I was too far away from the society. My main aim was to make an impact and to bring something to society. And by being in research in academia, I was only able to produce either publications or patents, but it's still a bit far away from the real application and the end users. So I started wondering to join industry, but to be honest, I was a bit afraid because sometimes we know the academic structure, and to take a step away from it, from something that we don't know, is always a risk. We don't know sometimes how to go there to cross the border to the other, to industry. So at the end, I was so frustrated that I decided to do this step. I started looking for different opportunities, and I was very much interested towards small companies and startups, because I knew they offered the opportunity of learning a lot of things in one job. So this would allow me to learn and at the same time improving my career. And so I entered to this company, Elvesys. It's a company that fabricates and develops instruments for microfluidics. And I started doing some collaborative activities, and well, as it is usual in small companies, they grow and you grow with them. And now I am the director of innovation in the innovation unit, and we are a team of 22, 24 postdocs, PhD students, PhD holders. So it is international, French. So it's very diverse, and it's very satisfying. We produce instruments and we do research and development and innovation towards the needs of the market and the end users. So it is much more satisfying for me than the academic work I was doing before. So I think I answered the questions. So I pass the microphone to someone else.
Thank you, Julia. We are going to deepen some information you gave later on, but for an introduction, that's perfect. Thank you very much, Julia. So Clarissa, you're back. So I suggest you keep saying what you were saying about before we lost you.
Yeah, I'm terribly sorry. My computer just shut down. So coming back, I found out that I would like to leave academia at about the middle of my PhD, because I was working in basic science, and I would like something more hands-on job, something that would show me what my work is doing for society directly. And therefore I started in this small company, Cintab, in Germany, developing in vitro models to this new drug. Afterwards, I would like to come back to Belgium, so I started searching here, and in this process I discovered the quality control as well that you need in these biotechs and in many different companies, different types of companies. according to some friends, my mindset would be correct for this kind of job. So I said, why not? I tried, and I found out that I loved it. So this was a nice move, thanks to some friends. I learned a lot. I learned how to deal with a bigger company, because in this startup we were 4, so it was more or less like the academia, but with a different name. And this time I went to a bigger company that is around 200 people. So you have much more hierarchy, you have much more rules and much more different ways of working. And in this environment inside the same company, I also found out that the development part and the laboratory were tiring me a bit. So I decided to look for other things also to do. And I found out that managing subcontractors, managing different relationships from inside to outside your organization were something I loved. And this is my current position. I'm QC expert in outsourcing since February. So this was something that is really nice. I meet with different people. Language skills are really needed, and you need to be able to talk to different backgrounds. So this interested me a lot.
Okay, thank you, Clarissa. We are coming back later on what you're all currently really doing concretely, and what were the requirements for the position you are currently doing. And for people with recruiting services or recruiting activities, you are going to explain to us why you are recruiting PhDs for which positions, and what are the skills or personalities you are looking for when you recruit people. So Mariana, your turn. Can you tell us who you are and what you have done until now?
Yes. Hi, everyone. So I'm from Argentina. I'm living in France for 8 years now. So I did my studies, undergraduate studies and PhD in Argentina. But I always wanted to have an international experience. And then after my PhD that I did in really basic cell biology, I wanted to shift a little bit like the subject. So I first did a small transition. I did a short postdoc in Argentina, like changing subject to go more to microbiology. And then it gave me time like to find a postdoc that fulfill, let's say, my ideas or expectations. So I came here to France at the Pasteur Institute, working in host pathogen interaction. And for me, like what I really wanted, I mean, or I want to say is that like when I chose my different career paths, I always like balance not only my career, but also like some personal interests. And that's why I ended up in France and not in United States or in a country with a different language, because I really wanted to have like a intercultural experience. So that's one of the reasons that I chose or ended up in France. And speaking about the reasons why, or my motivation, why I left academia, to be honest, when I decided like to do my first postdoc and my second postdoc, I have a long postdoc experience. I spent like 7 years between the first and the second. And I didn't think about like working outside academia. Like I was always imagine myself like in the lab doing experiments, you know, doing research. But coming to an international institute with an international environment, like really opened a little bit my eyes. And I realized that there were many jobs that we can do being like scientists or science related people outside academia or in relationship with academia, but not necessarily doing like research, which I really like, you know, but like, you know, we open more like my vision, let's say. So at the after like being engaged in my project for many years, like I already at the end started like to to look for different possibilities. And although it was difficult, for me it wasn't like you guys said before, like you really decided. For me it was like more, you know, a process. At the end, I did the jump, and I'm really happy, let's say, about my decision. Then I will tell you more details about what I'm doing specifically.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Mariana. Right. Alexandre, that's your turn.
Yes, thank you. So my name is Alexandre Gatto. I'm managing the division MicroOptics at Zeiss in Jena, Germany. So I'm a French guy. I did my PhD in '99 in Marseille, quite a long time ago. And right after that, I got, first of all, the opportunity to do a postdoc in a training mobility research in Jena. So, well, first of all, it was also on a short term for 18 months. So I moved to Jena in Germany. Well, I think so. First of all, it was a good experience for an academic career. After 18 months, it was I was so I could do a 2 years additional postdoc, and then I worked at the Fraunhofer Society, which is quite a good positioning between research and academic. And well, I did also a part-time MBA there. And then I really do the big jump to the society, to the Zeiss, to the industry in 2005 with several steps. I can tell you into more details after that during the questions. So, well, it was let's say a move from south of France to Jena, Germany, quite for now 20 years ago, and now in the industry for quite a long time.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Alexandre. So as I said, I would like you to explain us what you are concretely doing, because sometimes, and I think that was the case with you, Clarissa, because quality was not necessarily something you have imagined first, and we may have a false idea of what a job actually is. Can you tell us so what it is to do your job? So what is your, I don't know, we don't say routine, but what is your daily work like? Can you tell us more about the activities you have, and explain to us also how your PhD is a real asset for this position, and maybe to explain us if it was a requirement when you have been recruited. Julia, can you start maybe?
Yes, of course. So what I do concretely today. So as I said before, I am the head of the innovation unit. So my tasks are very diverse. First, I need to explain a bit what do we do in the innovation unit, so I can explain what do I do there. So the innovation unit is some kind of a private lab. We work in several international projects. We have around 30 different projects funded by the European Commission, because we work very much in H2020 programs. So among the projects, there are solely collaborative, in which us permanents, we are implementing a project and in communication with the different collaborators. Then we have also this kind of projects that are called ITNs. These are Marie Curie actions. So this means that we have also PhD students. So each PhD student have their own projects. Of course, everything is related to microfluidics, because that's what we do. We also have, we welcome also individual fellows, which are also part of the Marie Curie actions. On microfluidic-based projects, of course. So my job here is to coordinate the different, first, to establish the connection with different researchers in Europe and outside Europe, to submit projects and to have these synergies with them. Then once the projects are accepted, then I check that the projects are well implemented, so that the communication is well done, that we actually provide something interesting for the consortium and for the European Commission, and also that we can develop something that can be valorized either in the market or as some kind of prototype. So these are some of my duties. Of course, I have a lot of meetings. I need to check that everything is going well, that the PhD students are well in their projects, that the communication with the collaborators is well done. So as regarding to your question, that how my PhD or my academic background was useful. Well, after my PhD and 4.5 years of postdocs, it allowed me to understand how academia and researchers work and what is important for them. So we can have very fruitful and very synergistic collaborations in which we from industry can bring something that is relevant for the project, and we can complement the expertises and capacities of academia. So mostly, besides understanding research and research projects, it helped me to understand how academia worked and how to collaborate with people in academia. So these are the most important things that were useful for me and that are useful for the team.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Julia. I'm going to give the floor to Alexandre, maybe, because you are still related to this research and development activity, so it makes sense, I would say, to continue on this way. So Alexandre, can you tell us what you do currently?
Yes, well, I'm managing a division, MicroOptics, so we are doing a non-classical optical system at Zeiss. Zeiss is a big optical companies. We have 50 people in the divisions, and we are developing innovative new kind of optical solutions for automotive, avionics, but also consumers, based on very small so-called microstructure optical elements. So the Zeiss has always have a very, very strong connections with academia and university, a long tradition on the development of research and high-end optical elements. So the job is to, of course, to manage the teams and to bring new optical system and solution for our customers. So we are bridging the gap between research and also product development. So it's all about having very innovative solutions, but also product on the short terms to generate value for the company. So maybe the main differences between industry and big industry and academia so far is to bridge the gap between research and also value and short-term value for the company. So it means, well, it's all about the challenges and the job to manage to have extremely innovative solutions, but also a possible product on the short terms in 2 or 3 years.
And the question on your PhD, I know the answer is obvious, but is your PhD actually an asset for your position? And maybe because you are more experimented maybe than the other speakers, can you tell us how your PhD was really useful for your career development to get this managerial position, for instance?
It's a good question. So more experience means certainly, well, when you are getting a little bit more older, yes, I did a PhD for now 20 years. So the more you are going and evaluating in the career, the less it is really the academic, let's say, important. However, you have learned, or I have learned tools with a PhD, and after that, and those tools related to science, related to physics, related to exact evaluation of things and parameters is something that have make a little bit the brain. So of course it's an important education or piece of education, because you have learned quite some interesting tools. But of course, there is an evolution after that, as far as you are going through the different position into the industry. So yes, it is quite an interesting toolboxes, but after that you have to fix the problems with those toolboxes in the real life.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Alexandre. Mariana, can you tell us about your job?
Yes. So yes, now what I'm doing is I'm currently working as a freelance editor and project manager. So basically, like my main project is in editing. So I'm working as managing editor in a microbiology journal at Springer Nature. So basically what I do in my everyday life is like I manage manuscripts since they are submitted to a journal. So from the first like quality controls on the manuscript to then the assignment to the different associate editors. But I also handle myself part of the manuscripts, like supervising the peer review process. So like, let's say that I'm in contact, in constant contact with like the scientific editors, the publishers, the reviewers, and the authors. Basically doing like the publication of manuscript like to happen, let's say, like participating in different steps. And on the other project that actually like is quite newer, I dedicate some time of my time to work in as part of a scientific project manager, like in an international microbiome program. So for this program, basically what I have to do is to identify like some knowledge gaps in preclinical and clinical research related to microbiome and also antimicrobial resistance. So basically I need like to read a lot, basic research and clinical research, and the idea is to summarize this information and discuss with coordinators and key opinion leaders in the field of, because we have an organization like with in working groups. So I'm part of some of these working groups to come out eventually with a white paper and some recommendation for medical associations, let's say. That's the idea. So this is more or less what I'm doing now. And then the other question was?
About your PhD. How is your PhD set for the position you currently have?
Yes, so my PhD and also my postdoc, because I take it like a big part of my scientific formation, the postdoc, like both, let's say, provided me with the scientific background that I need for like both projects that I'm working now, but also with technical skills that I apply in my everyday life, let's say, and work. Like for example, specifically for my project, like writing, editing, reviewing, or critical thinking, that I need like to evaluate and also like quickly evaluate something, because I need to do things kind of quick, let's say, to move things forward. But in addition to these technical skills that I apply, both experiences, let's say like my experience in academia, or yeah, in academia, they provided me with other skills, the so-called transferable skills, which are the same or more important actually when you move, I think, outside academia. And for example, adaptability, well, independence, project management or time management, this kind of thing that especially when you are like kind of like freelance or working by your own is important, because you don't have the environment, the job environment, you're alone, so you really need to organize and focus, because otherwise it's like you can maybe all day pass and you did nothing, so you really need this. So yeah, I think this experience like provide me with as Alexandre said, with like kind of a toolbox, then you take from there what you need, and and you adapt more easily to the job. And also, not only my PhD and postdoc, but also the fact that I moved to a different country, I think it was a good learning, let's say, I'm speaking about adaptability, you know, like to adapt to also to a new job. It's something that also helps, let's say.
Thank you, Mariana. Clarissa?
Yeah, so I'm actually currently working in quality control in a company called MaSTherCell. It's a CDMO, so contract development manufacturing organization. This means that we are hired by other companies or by, let's say, universities, spin-offs, to make a production. So we basically help in developing, in the development of their products, and also we help in the production of these different products. What we do is producing cell therapy products from many different clients. In this way, we need to have quality control, as in any other industry. You need to prove your product is safe, your product doesn't have any impurities. So my day-to-day life is mainly to receive, let's say, samples from the production department. They provide us with different kinds of samples that have to be analyzed regarding impurities, regarding identity and potency, and other points that you in academia would know how to do and what they are for. So this is the day-to-day life. And we also work in GMP, so this is a very industry-like thing. It's good manufacturing procedures and production. So you need a lot of paperwork, basically, and it's a way of working. You need to be traceable. You need to be sure that which person did what action at all times. And so you need to have it written. Anything that's not written, it's not true, basically. So this is what I learned in quality control as well, and it's something I like because it makes you be very specific and not forget anything. So this helps a lot for me. We deal with a lot of forms. So when you go to the lab and you do an experiment like an ELISA or PCR, in the day-to-day life, you have a formula, a form to fill, and where you have to check every step you did, so you can prove what was done for that sample. And this is a day in the lab for someone who works in the quality control. We also have to report these results, so we have many ways to report it. And we have also to pass it to the client. In this case, you need to be like a project leader to talk directly to the clients, or you talk only inside your own group. So this is what I was doing until February. And from February, I started dealing with our subcontractors. So some tests we have to outsource, whether because they are more complex, whether because they need some kind of equipment that we don't have, and it would not be good to have because we don't do it a lot, for example. The costs would be too high. So we have to subcontract. And in this case, you need to think about the identification of your samples, the shipment, the dealing with the subcontractor, defining how the tests should be done. You need to deal with the results when they come back. You need to be able to challenge them. So all of this, for all of this, the PhD helped me a lot, because of this background in science, because of knowing how in academia you have to think. So need this way of thinking in academia, why always going for more questions. One question just has one answer and other 10 questions. So this also happens in the industry when you are in this kind of position, and it helps a lot having a PhD behind. It was not a requirement for my position, but it was very much accepted, and they really liked that I had it. What a PhD would be nice for this kind of projects is that you can work independently. A PhD person, a person that did a PhD or even postdocs, they know how to work independently. They know how to search for an information on their own, and this is really important for industry. So each company has their own way of working, and they train their employees normally. A PhD that had experience in academia and with other students under him in a postdoc, for example, they could even help in the training procedures, for example, in the company. And this is not everybody that likes doing. So they pretty much like PhD and postdocs for that. You also have great problem-solving skills, because when you are a PhD student or a postdoc, you have a problem in an experiment, you have to stop and think, what do I do now? So this helps a lot in the industry as well. And as Julia said, understanding the academic world, you can help your clients better. You can understand their needs also behind. So you don't just offer anything. You offer something that would be useful, really, for them. And also in the communication part, just like Mariana said, coming from another country, even another continent, helps a lot because of the capacity of adaptation. So this also is a thing that is really an asset for PhDs.
Thank you very much, Clarissa. If we come back to this jump from academia to a non-academic environment, most of you didn't get, before entering the industry, industrial experience, if I'm correct. So attendees would be interested in knowing how you did this jump from academia to non-academic without this kind of experience. And maybe a question which is more focused for Julia and Alexandre. Do you consider applications from people with a more experimented profile but without industrial experience for positions or for vacancies you have? And also regarding the profile of international researcher, is it something you're looking for? Maybe we will start with Mariana and Clarissa and then come back to this recruitment part with Alexandre and Julia. Is that okay? Okay, Mariana?
Yeah, so, well, me, I'm not involved at all in recruitment procedure, but what I can say is that for example, in the journal, we are really like an international team, because I mean, I work here from home, let's say, but I'm in constant contact with the rest of the team. That is another managing editor, the editor-in-chief, the publishing editor, and then the other associate editors. And people are all around the world, like the one is in Germany, the other in Netherlands, the other everywhere. So the fact to, I mean, first, the part of the PhD, I think is important. I don't know if really like a postdoc experience. I mean, I think it's a plus, especially because you have a little bit, maybe a broader experience, but not necessarily, let's say. But for sure, yes, you need a PhD because you need to understand how does the publishing world works. You need to know how a paper is, like the life of a paper since you write it until you submit it, the round of revision and everything. Then when you know this, like from the author part, then you will understand much better from the editor part, of course. So in this sense, I think, yes, let's say that almost everyone did PhD, and some people, the majority, have some kind of a postdoc experience, maybe shorter, but some experience. And the other part that is, let's say, the international experience, I think is also very rich, because you are in contact with people from all around the world. So then it's always good, you know, like to be open-minded, like to different culture, experience, and approaches, and how to communicate with people, because you are all the time communicating with people by email, let's say. But so I think like both things, like, let's say, the academic experience and also the international experience are both like assets, let's say, for this kind of position, at least in editing.
When we discussed to prepare this discussion, you told me that you have some extracurricular activities in peer reviewing articles and some activities related to the job you're currently having. Can you tell us also how you discovered maybe the position, the job of editor, maybe just to relate with your current position and the past experiences you have, even if it was volunteering activities?
Yeah, well, during my, I mean, as I told you, like, I discovered, you know, like, I didn't decide that, like, from the beginning I wanted to leave academia, but then I started to realize that what thing that I really liked more from my work. And I realized that I really like to review either articles that were submitted like to the PI, or to, you know, like to discuss the different article, and to do the report, you know, to read critically the paper, to see how this experiment would need this control, or, I mean, this kind of thing, to write the report. And also I read a lot of projects from my lab, because my lab was really big, so I had the opportunity to interact with different kind of projects and with a lot of people from my group. And at the end, I mean, when I finished my postdoc, I don't know how many projects did I read and correct. I really like to do that. So, you know, this was one of the things that when I did my list of things that I liked, you know, I had this, and then I started to think about the editing. And actually, maybe somebody told me, I don't remember, maybe my boss told me at some point, but you know, you should pay attention to this because you really like this. And also, I really like reading, because you have to read a lot. I mean, not only the paper are submitted to a journal, but also other paper, because to understand what you are reading, in general, you are going to read other stuff. And the other project that I'm working on, I'm reading all the time. So if you don't like reading, it's like, it's not your job, you know, you are not going to enjoy. But if you like, then I don't know, it's good. But yeah, it's, as you say, it's something that I discovered on the road, let's say, because I never thought about it before, actually.
Okay, thank you, Mariana. Clarissa?
Well, I'm also not in the recruitment part, but I see people coming and going in the company, and we are a pretty international group, even with 200 and something people. We have people from outside Europe just as well, and my experience, they are quite open-minded to people with a lot of experience in life. Not only in academia or not only in the industry. It's really not easy when you have to move out of your country, away from your family. So this means a lot. This tells a lot about you for people that are recruiting. They know you are a tough person. You can deal with a lot of adversity. So this is really important also in the industry world, to be able to deal with hard situations or not so comfortable situations. And people from international backgrounds, they can be very independent. They are normally fast learners, so they have a great change adaptability. So if they know how to pass it in the interview process, this is very important. They can use it as a skill, as a soft skill to present themselves. You can show your recruiter that you want this job, that you would like to do it. You would like to learn more doing it. So they are always open for this kind of people, as I could see.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you very much. Now let's hear the recruiter's perspective on recruitment of international researchers and profiles of more experimented researchers, for instance, with many years of experience in academia or people without industrial experience. These kind of applications, is that the kind of profile you are interested in? How come, and how can they make themselves attractive for you industry? Alexandre, you start.
Yes. So first of all, we have in the division a lot of PhD, and not only young people, but also it can happen that we have, depending on the profile and depending on the position we have to fulfill, that we have to recruit people with quite a long experience. It's of course not the rules. It's really depending on the position we are looking for, but it can happen. And why? Because optics is so complex, and we are working on especially on very, very complex fields. Then we can hardly find equivalent profile in the industry. So of course we have a network, and quite a big international network with university, with institute all over Europe, and well, abroad Europe also. And from time to time, yes, we got some well, very, very complex academic profile with experiences, something like 10 years, 15 years academic experiences. It can happen. It's not the rules, but it can happen. Yeah.
Thank you, Alexandre. Julia?
Yeah, well, from our side, it is also very, it's not very common to receive some candidates from academia that have extensive experience in the academic sector. So this is very uncommon. In any case, what is important for us is that they are not coming from academia. Well, they are not joining industry because they don't have any other option in academia, but that they actually want to join industry from the bottom of their heart. So this is the main thing that we check. It doesn't mind if we wouldn't mind if they have been in academia for 2 or 1 postdoc or 7 years, 10. The most important thing is the mindset, is that they actually can fit in our environment, and they can work with us, because we work as a team. We have a vision, a mission, and we can only work together if we are all aligned on that. So this is the most important thing that we look for, even beyond any industrial experience, which could be important for us because it means that they have been already interested in this world. So more than the actual experience in industry, the important thing for us on someone that has an industrial experience in their CV is that they have the interest and that they are already thinking about joining the sector. So this is the main thing we look at in researchers when we recruit researchers.
Okay, thank you very much, Julia. Still, for Julia and Alexandre, and then for Mariana and Clarissa, regarding the differences between academia and industry. Can you explain us how different it is to work in research between academia and industry? What are the major differences and what it means maybe in terms of adjustment for young PhDs or less young PhDs leaving academia for industry. Can you tell us more about these differences you can see and how people need to adjust? We start with you, Julia, and then Alexandre.
Yes, of course. The question was about, sorry, can you repeat the question?
I'm sorry, my question was a bit too long, but it's about the differences between academia and industry, how we do research differently between academia and industry, and what it means for people joining industry after leaving academia in terms of adjustment in the way they work, especially on time, working, and research projects.
Yeah, okay, thank you for the reminder. So first, as Clarissa said, industries are all different, and there are many kinds of positions in the industry. So this means also that the activities are very diverse. For example, I could be doing something that resembles very much an academic job. I mean, such as like being PI. The main difference would be that in industry, I would say that we have a goal. There's a goal, and the difference with research is that you can go and explore. For example, if you see something interesting that could be the new issue of a publication, you don't go there. You have a goal. You have something to do, and you cannot be distracted, and you cannot open new paths so easily. If you open one, it must be aligned with the objectives of the company, that it has a potential value. So there are many things that will allow you to open a new project, but it's not like it is in academia. So there is this part of being focused. In terms of collaborations as well, it's not as open as in academia. Here we cannot freely collaborate with people because we don't receive any other public funding. I mean, we apply for specific funding from the European Union, and we cannot spend in lateral projects or welcome people freely as in academia. So there are some constraints. You need to know what is important for the industry. You need to know that you have a budget and that you need to follow some rules. So these are, I think, the most important differences with academia. But as I repeat again, many positions are very different, and yeah, the activities are quite different.
Thank you, Gina. Alexandre?
Yes, so I quite agree with the statement that well, it really depends on the positions, and quite big companies can offer a lot of positions, extremely different, and the academic world is also very huge. However, I would also say that the key performances indicators in academic worlds are quite different than those KPI in the industry. In the academic worlds, you will be measured normally by the generation of publication, by the generation of patents, by the generation of so-called intangible values. Those values which are quite difficult to measure with money. In the industry, you are measured on very quite short-term or long-term monetary values. So yes, we can do, and we are doing research and development, but it's always focused on the generation of value for the company, which mean product solution for our customers. So it's quite different words. The customers for the academic words are well, the scientific words itself. The customer for a big company is quite defined. So you have a quite different set of rules, and well, you have to follow that new kind of rules when you switch from one word to the other one. But again, I think with a PhD, you have learned quite interesting tools and adaptability, and you can fight and adapt in that new kind of world, which is the industry, with other key performance indicators.
Thank you very much, Alexandre. I'm going to ask the same question, but in a different way from Mariana and Clarissa. Can you tell us how you adjusted to this new environment? Was it easy, difficult? What was maybe the most difficult part for you leaving academia to this non-academic settings? Can you tell us? Clarissa?
Yeah, so for me, it was very, very, very much different. I was very pleased at the same time, because what I was looking for in the industry was actually what Julia and Alexandre said. That is the focus, the being objective, not going through too many paths and then getting lost. So this was very nice for me. What was a bit difficult in the beginning was to get used to this hierarchy, to having to know to which person to talk first. You cannot just jump to the boss of your boss, and obviously it depends on the company. But yeah, you have to adjust to this kind of way of working. It was easy to adapt once you understand the mechanics of your own company. It's fine, but for an academic person, it's a first shock, I believe. But the main thing was also the communication part, being able to stop and think, okay, how will I write this email? How am I touch this subject with these people or with that people? So being very polite, just especially when you are talking outside your company, but also inside. People work in motivation. So if you can motivate someone to do something, it will go much easier than if you command someone to do something. So this is how you communicate with your colleagues that are probably different backgrounds compared to yours, or different countries, different cultures. So you have to be very careful in how to communicate.
Thank you, Clarissa. Mariana?
Yeah, so well, in my case, it's a little bit different because it's not like industry or, I mean, it's a big company because I work, I mean, part of my work is for Springer Nature, which is one of the biggest publishing groups. But in any case, I mean, at least in my case, yes, I at the beginning, you know, I needed to adjust a little bit about the objective thing. So, okay, but I mean, I think it depends a lot on the personalities and your way of thinking. For example, me, I thought that it was going to be much more difficult to adjust to this. Okay, these are the goals, and we have, and at the end, I found myself much more, you know, concrete and going to the point than what I thought before. So it wasn't like so difficult for that at the beginning. A little bit, as Clarissa said, you know, about understanding a little bit like the position of the different people, and exactly to, you know, what is the specific job of the different people and to whom communicate the different thing. But once I understood like this, it was much easier. Like the way I think that the key point is that if you are kind of like a flexible, let's say, or adaptable, you are more open to understand how you will fit on the machine, let's say, and independently if it's in an industry or even if you work by yourself, like in independent projects, you know, like you need also to learn how to adapt to new time, to put objective, how to discuss with people, how to know what people need from you, especially when you work by your own. Like try to get, you know, the information from people. What do you need from me exactly to deliver things on time and what they expect, and not what you interpreted that they wanted. I mean, it's not easy. It takes time, but then I think it's fine. Let's say it's not so complicated at the end.
And you did it. So basically everyone, should be able to do this transition. Okay.
All the people
Good.
I know, they manage, so.
Thank you very much, Mariana. And now we are going to move to the question on recruitment process, because it is a big question that would be interesting our attendees. So we'll start with you, Mariana, and then Clarissa, and then we move to the recruiter's perspective, I would say. So can you tell us how you applied for the position and how the recruitment process was organized in your company? Just to tell us from your candidate's point of view how you prepared also for such applications for job interviews. Mariana, can you tell us?
Yes, so basically what I have to say is that for me the network was key in all the projects that all the opportunities that I had since I decided to look for opportunities, let's say. So, I read a lot. I participated, on events, career development events. I read a lot of material online on journals, career development blogs. So, in a way, I started to prepare myself to understand how does it work, the recruitment process, because it's different than from academia. It's completely different. So you don't imagine like what are some questions that you can get in an interview. And this, I think you need to prepare, even if you don't think so. At the end, it will be smoother if you prepare, let's say. And then, in my case, it was quite okay, because as I say, like I was looking for opportunities, and I was like doing networking with different people, and then some opportunities came up. Some didn't work, but others worked, as this one. And then I had an interview with the company, and they asked me about my, why I wanted to take this job, why I wanted to move from academia, because I think it's very important to, let's say, the motivations, why you want to transition, let's say, from academia to outside academia and any job. So yeah, it was quite okay, but I think also the kind of job that I'm doing, there are a lot of in relationships still with academia, because it's academic publishing, and so I think it's completely different, but you are still a lot in contact with academia. So I don't know, I didn't have like the experience to be in a recruitment process in an industry, for example, things like that, like to really know about this part of the project. On the editing side, let's say, it was okay. You need to prepare, but and to know exactly what is this work about, discussing with people that do different similar kind of job, to know what you expect also from the job.
Okay, thank you very much, Mariana. Clarissa, can you tell us about your own experience?
Yeah, so I found out quite quickly during my PhD, like about half, that I would not like to keep on going in academic position. So about 1 year before I finished my PhD, I started just Googling, looking into LinkedIn to know the names of the companies that were biotechs in the region I would like to, and to look for their websites, to know what they do, to know what their values are, to know what their missions are, and looking about what they are up to also. So I started looking like this. Then it's the CV preparation. So in the industry, they don't need to know your list of publications normally. So this part you don't need to put. So at least this was what I saw. You have to focus on what you have achieved until now. And your PhD is one of these achievements. Your postdocs are one of these achievements. So you need to transfer these skills you learned to the paper. So being able to work independently, but being able to collaborate as well, working in an international environment, all of this are sentences you can use in your CV to highlight these abilities you have. And yes, you do. You just need to believe yourself. You learned during your path. We just need to learn how to transfer this to like a nice sentence, and this is what is just missing. So first, preparing like this was the first part. Knowing how to put together a 2-page CV that would not take long to read and be objective, and also started contacting the companies online mainly, normally via their own websites. They have a job part, so you have an email address to address to. Normally you can do it directly. The network is also very important. I started networking during the PhD. When you go to seminars, to congresses, you always have stands from companies that are there to show what they do, to present their own work. So you can go there and talk. So networking is about making relationships, establishing relationships. It should not be only winning from one side. You have to make it win-win. So really interest yourself in this person you have in front of you. Really interest yourself in the company history and what they do, what their goals are. So preparing for an interview is also going to search for this kind of info and knowing the company you are applying to. So in my case, this helped a lot. And as it was already said by all the other panelists, it's about motivation. In the end, it's about motivation. If you really think this job could be interesting, you can show it, whether in your letter of motivation, whether in your CV, whether in an interview in the future. So just be yourself, be honest, and try to learn a bit more about yourself first, to know what are your motivations, what are your goals, what do you want with this job or with this company, and then it will be just easy to pass it to your recruiter.
Thank you very much, Clarissa. Maybe something I would like to add, on networking. You were talking about networking, which is an important part. Of course, because of this current situation we have, we can't travel all over the world. Do not forget that you can use social media to connect with people. In the case you can't travel, use social media to connect and discuss with people. So networking can be, of course, meeting directly people, but in some cases you can't really meet directly, but use social media and video conferences to have such meetings, but you need really to develop your network as soon as possible. Before,
just one point to add, networking is not only professional. So as we come from another country, another continent, you also have to learn about the culture, the local culture. You need to want to blend in. So it's not, in my case, I felt it was not a country that should change for me. It was the opposite. So I tried to adapt, tried to use my hobbies to meet people as well, and to just make friends. And friends, all the rest comes with it. So just that.
Thank you, Clarissa, for this information. Before giving the floor, to Julia and Alexandre, I just want to remember our attendees that you can ask your question in the Q&A tab, not in the chat, because the chat has been disabled. So if you want to ask questions, type your question in the Q&A tab, please. Thank you very much. So let's move to Julia and Alexandre as recruiters. Can you tell us how your recruitment process is organized? I'm going to start with Alexandre first, because I would like you, Julia, to tell us more about this Marie Curie Actions fellowships, because I know you are recruiting quite a lot. I'm not sure it's a good word, but actually you are using this funding scheme to recruit researchers in your company. So let's start first with Alexandre, and then you can explain your recruitment process with a specific focus then on the Marie Curie Action Fellowships. Alexandre, can you tell us how you recruit people, what you expect, and everything on recruitment at Zeiss?
Okay, so we are recruiting and also recruiting in that period of time in our division, which is quite, let's say, not so a common rules actually in the group, but also in other companies. So let's speak about the recruiting processes, let's say before the Corona crisis with the normal tools. It begins with a job description that we are posting that job description on our website, but also on different social networks, and trying to gather and trying to read the different CVs. After that, we have quite a structured processes to recruit people. It begins with a first interview. In most of the cases, it is a phone call. So we have people from human resource with us. I take, in many cases, one team, one group leaders out of my divisions, one or two people, which I know very good, and which will be responsible for the person. So we have a first phone interviews with some different profiles. After that, of course, we are selecting, let's say, 2 or 3 candidates for the next sessions. And the next sessions will be an interview, a face-to-face interview, normally 1 or 2, depending on the position. So we have position like technicians, but also position like engineers, or position like, for example, expert project manager or team leaders. It can also happen. Then it will be certainly a little bit more complex with several interviews. Normally in the first interviews, we are asking for a kind of presentation. We try during that interviews not only to grasp pieces of information from the person, but also to give information about the positions. I think it's quite important in such a process, a sort of give and take in a balance, so that the candidate can grasp a lot of information about the position. It's quite important to give him or her that pieces of information, and of course try to evaluate at the end whether there is a fit between the profile and the position. So we use these interviews to exchange quite a lot, of course, about the task, about the skills, but at the end, and it's quite important, about the so-called soft aspects. And soft aspects are, of course, communication, our team spirit. We try to identify whether this person will fit not only to the job, but also to the team, because we have quite different teams. For example, we have an internal new venture, which is a kind of startup inside the company. So it's a very young team. So we are looking some very specific profile which can work in that kind of teams. So it's a process at the end of the days about, well, let's say 1 phone call plus 2-4 interviews on site along, well, a couple of weeks. It could be 3 until, well, 5 or 7 weeks, depending on the complexity of the position. So it's for the processes, let's say, outside the Corona crisis. Now, with the Corona time, of course, we are using a lot of electronic videos, chats, in order to exchange the most of possible information. It's not so easy, frankly speaking, but it works. And well, now it's quite more easier because we can meet people with mask and with distance in the group. It's in Germany, in Jena, it is possible. So again, we can conduct some face-to-face interviews and having the final decisions. And at the end, it's always important to give feedbacks about positive decisions, but also negative decisions, and in both directions. It can also happen that candidate tell us, it can also happen, the position is not for me because A, B, C. So we try to have also this kind of exchange at the end of the process in order to evaluate. And if I may give an advice, it's always to be very direct, to be very frank, to be very, very transparent about expectancies in both directions. Not only the big company, but also the person that you are, because it's a time where both entities are on the same level, and it's not always understood as it is. It's in most cases you have the person who wants to have the job and the company which are giving or not the job. I think the more it has to be a balanced situation as far as we can, but of course the company is taken a decision at the end because that's the company which gives the jobs. However, you can play a key role during that process, and that's what we are expecting from those people. We are expecting transparency, engagement, an open communication about technical aspect, but also soft expertise, communication, emotional intelligence, etc.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Alexandre. It's very important for attendees to understand that companies are recruiting candidates, but candidates are also recruiting their own employers, matching their wishes. So it's very important for them to understand that.
Exactly.
Lucia, maybe you can add something on that and your recruit process, and focus, as I said, on Marie Curie actions.
Yes. Well, basically, I agree with everything that Alexandre said. We look for the same things. Our recruitment process is quite similar in the sense of what we are looking for in candidates. So one very, very important thing is, yes, again, motivation. So you need to be really convinced that this position you're asking for is actually for you. So ask all the questions and have very clear in mind what does this job involves. Because as Berenice said, yeah, it's a two-way recruitment. So for the company, it is very important to recruit the right person for the right position, but also for the candidate, it must be of utmost importance to work on something that will make him or her happy. Because I mean, this must be important for the candidate and for the team that will be welcoming the candidate if recruited. They want to work with people that are committed, that are happy to do their job, and it's not just for paying the rent or whatever. So this is the most important thing I would say. Like apply for positions that actually motivate you, that you say that you're fully convinced that this is for you. Also regarding the philosophy, the mission, the vision of the company, if it matches yours, this is the most important thing as well, because it's always difficult to work with a philosophy that does not match yours. You need to work on the same direction, with the same ideas, with the same goals, same philosophy. So take everything in account. So the position, the kind of position, the activities, the enterprise, because every enterprise is different, and check it with yourself. And also tailor your CV according to the position, because it's not the same if you're going to apply for something very technical, where you will do a lot of benchtop work for an industrial project, or if you do another kind of job. So even your hobbies will be very important. For example, if I'm looking for someone to do communication or marketing in the interface with with research. If someone likes photography and they learn by themselves to use Photoshop, I mean, this is already something very interesting that is not in the regular courses that I will take into account to recruit this person. So take everything, your global experience, and check how does it match with the position you're applying to. So as for the recruitment process, we do several interviews with different people, and each one of these interviews have different purposes. So we check the mindset, we check how they can they are able to adapt to new paradigms and to adapt. How can they solve problems that they do not take like complicated decisions? How transparent they are, how do they communicate, if they are able to receive a feedback, if they are able to work as a team, if they are able also to understand the goals of the company and work towards them. There are also another interview for technical questions. There at the end, usually it is on-place visit for permanent positions. This is something that even with COVID we try to do. So it's the last step after all the filters. And here there's another technical test. Then the candidate will meet some of the colleagues, the director or the CEO, the human resources person in charge, and at the end of this last step, we will say if the person is hired or not. And as for the Marie Curie actions, as Berenice said, we work in several of these kind of projects. They are either for doctoral students, so we engage international doctoral students for the full time during 3 years in the context of this Marie Curie ITN projects. And the recruitment process is quite similar to that I described. There's always the mindset check. Everything is on distance because they are usually international candidates that may be in India or South America or in China or in Norway. So everything is made online. We do technical tests as well. And at the end of the filters, they will have an interview with the CEO or the general director, well, the COO. And then we will take the decision if we engage or not this PhD candidate. Well, this person for the PhD student position. Then for the individual fellowships, this is another scheme. This is for people that have already their PhD. And they have not lived in France for at least the last 2 or 3 years in the last 5 years. So we do almost the same. We contact people. We put some offers somewhere. Then when the candidates contact us, we also check for the mindset, because it is also very important for us that they are actually interested on learning how industry works, and that are able to adapt to this new setting. We don't do technical tests in this case. Usually people, they have their CV. We know what are their backgrounds. We check mainly for the mindset and their technical capacities for different projects, and then we write a project together that can have an added value for the enterprise, for the candidate, and that can be interesting also for the European Commission. So this means that innovation is of utmost importance. And then, well, at the end, when we finish writing the project, we submit it to the European Commission. And we welcome the fellows some months after the project submission. This could be around 5 months after, or even 1 year after the project has been submitted. So this is globally how we work. If you have questions about either this kind of grants or the process, feel free to ask.
Great, thank you very much, Julia. I can't remember if I say that in the introduction, but we won't have necessarily the time to cover all the questions, but we are going to collect all the questions that will be unanswered to send the question to the speakers so that you can get then the answers to questions who had not been covered during the session. So do not worry, we will collect all the questions even if it's unanswered. So because we are coming to the end of the session, I would like to ask you one question for all speakers regarding the recruitment of international researchers or refugee scientists. Do you make a difference between an international researcher and refugee scientist? And what it means in terms of addressing maybe administrative constraints regarding, for instance, the visa procedure, or for international researcher working in a foreign country. How did you learn the language of the country in which you are? Can you tell us about these things? Visa procedures and language skills you need to have, maybe or not, when you enter a foreign country. What is your opinion on that? Who wants to start?
Oh, I can start. Well, when I came to Belgium for my PhD, I didn't know a word in French, but I was willing to learn. So this is also very important. I had the chance that I was lucky that in the university they had an evening course that was free of charge for PhDs. So this was really nice. So if you are a PhD or a postdoc, check in your university. Normally they have this kind of programs inside. They are on campus or other ones. This can help a lot. In my case, learning the language was very important. First for communication, but also for integration. So this helped a lot in making new friends, in understanding my environment, what was happening around me. So this was really important. At the same time, in Germany, I was working there for 2 years and something, but I was working in English. I also I followed German course, and it was made for refugees. So it was really interesting. The cost was really not high, and was also in the evenings. So even if you work, it's possible to follow them. It was very nice. I didn't learn German as much as I learned French because it's much harder for me. But anyway, just trying it, just showing in the stores, like simple supermarkets or places like this, showing that you are trying, they are really happy and much helpful. So they are really open to help when you show you care. This was my experience.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Clarissa. I don't know if someone wants to add something on maybe visa procedure when you recruit, for instance, international researchers, or maybe which is maybe the most important question: do you make a difference between international researchers and refugee scientists? Do you make this difference or not? And what difference can you make between both profiles? Because I think it's really important for attendees to listen to this kind of answers, I think.
I can just give my point of view. Actually, as I told, I'm not in the recruitment process, but first I agree with Clarissa that it's nice always to try to learn the language from the place where you're living. This helps a lot in the networking development, like for the integration and it will give probably more opportunities in the middle term or long term, let's say. But I think it's also important to know that many of the jobs you can do it in English. I memean, for people that, I mean, either the language is too complicated or different reasons. But yeah, depending, then it's up on the people. Me, for example, all my works were, my jobs were in English, but I always wanted to learn French, so I speak very good French. But now, for example, I work in English as well. The thing is that, for example, in the kind of work that I'm doing now, you work remotely in general. Sometimes you have to meet people, but in general, I work remotely, which makes sometimes, well, it depends on the visa situation of the people. It makes to have some kind of flexibility in the sense that if, for example, me nowadays, if I move to another country, I would need to start from zero. But now I have like a 10-year visa in France. But I'm working for a company that is in Netherlands. So what I'm saying is that it depends a lot on the situation. I mean, on the situation of the person, but you can find some kind of flexible jobs. And then I know that because from some colleagues that are from outside Europe, you have many companies that have like facilities to help with the visa things. But it depends a lot on the situation, the kind of visa you have. Sometimes it can be a little bit restricted, but other times you can find a way, let's say.
Thank you, Mariana.
So maybe I can, yes. So maybe I can speak about well, of course, we are recruiting foreigners and foreign PhD in the group. We have, I tried to calculate more than 5 different nationalities only in my division. And of course, a lot of more in Jena. So yes, it is it is possible, and we have recruited foreign PhD in the past, and we are making no differences between nationalities and so far. But of course, from case to case, there is some visa needful, and we have to respect the rules. In such a case, we try to inform as much as possible about what it is needed to be done to get the visa, and it might happen depending on the capacity that we have, that we gave some supports in administrative task. It happened by the past. I have that in memory. So what we have the capacity to help the people, the person, to get some support for the administrative duties, so to say. But it really depends on the positions, and it also depends on the capacity at that moment of the teams, because that's what we have to do. But no differences between people, because it's on a legal point of view, it's also well, it's necessary, it's a must that we have to treat all the profile in the same way, and that we are doing.
Great, thank you very much, Alexandre.
I can maybe add a personal experience. I was coming. Yeah.
Very short then.
Yeah, no problem. The human resources helped me for having this visa. They can give you papers that are needed, like your signed contract and all the declarations or some things like this. And for example, the company where I am now, they have waited for 4 months until I could come, and they waited for it. So they would like me to start right away, but when we realized that would be this process, they help it, and they have waited. So it can surely happen.
Great, thank you very much for sharing this experience with us, Clarissa. I'm sorry, but we have to close the session because we are running out of time. I would like to thank you very much, our speakers. So thank you very much, Mariana, Alexandre, Clarissa, and Julia, for your sharing your experience. I'm pretty sure that it has been helpful for our attendees, And as I said as an introduction, the speakers are will happily accept your contact request on LinkedIn, for instance. So do not hesitate to connect with them after the session to get more information if you need to discuss more specific points. And as I said, all the unanswered questions will be sent to speakers so they can provide you with some answers to that. And then we will send you, of course, the answers they gave us. So I would like to wish you a very good evening or day, depending on the countries in which you are, but basically take care, and we wish you the best for your career development. Thank you very much, and see you soon then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.